My name is Ava Morgan, and the moment my sister lifted her wine glass at the family picnic, I knew I should have turned the car around the second I parked. The afternoon sun was catching the rim of her glass, making it gleam like she was about to deliver a wedding toast, not a public execution. I was still holding a flimsy plastic cup of warm soda when she tapped her perfectly manicured nail against crystal and called for attention. The chatter faded one voice at a time, until the only sound left was the faint hum of kids playing across the park. Lily smiled at me with the kind of sweetness that tastes like metal, sharp and cold, and for a second I wondered if she'd finally grown tired of pretending we were close. "To the one who always shows up," she said, letting her gaze sweep over the family before landing squarely on me. Broke, overwhelmed, and still trying so hard to matter. Laughter erupted, real, delighted, unfiltered. Even my parents didn't flinch. My dad leaned back in his folding chair, chuckling like he'd been waiting for the punchline. My mom covered her mouth as if she were being polite, but her eyes were bright with approval. I didn't laugh. My ears burned, and the edges of the world blurred the way they do right before tears, but none came. Instead, something else rose in me, slow, controlled, dangerous. I lifted my cheap cup the way she lifted her glass, meeting her eyes across the table. To the woman I said calmly, who has no idea the bank account she's been living off just closed. Lily's smile shattered. The laughter died too fast. Someone's fork slipped. A bird flapped hard from a nearby branch, and for the first time in my entire life they finally looked at me. I didn't go home right after the picnic. I sat in my car with the engine off, fingers wrapped around the cheap plastic cup I'd taken out of stubbornness. The soda inside was flat and warm, pointless, like the way my family saw me. Lily's voice kept replaying in my head, the smug tilt of her chin, the easy laughter from everyone else. I shouldn't have been surprised. I'd played that role for years, the reliable one, the fixer, the person who showed up with solutions no matter what it cost me. Dependence doesn't happen in one dramatic moment. It creeps in quietly disguised as care. It starts small, paying a bill, picking up groceries. Then it grows rent, medical, co-pays the mortgage. Eventually the thanks stop. It becomes expected, like weather or routine chores. I told myself it was normal. Family helps family even when the help drains you dry. I convinced myself they'd return the support someday if I ever needed it. That story kept me going through the exhaustion, the empty bank account, the constant sense of carrying too much. Work didn't help. Long hours, relentless deadlines, tech tasks people dismissed as computer stuff. 70-hour weeks had become my normal. And every paycheck disappeared the moment it arrived, sent to people who never once asked if I had enough left for myself. But sitting in that car, hands trembling, something shifted. The humiliation from the picnic didn't crush me. It clarified everything. They didn't respect me. They didn't value what I did. To them, I wasn't a person. I was a resource. And for the first time, I wondered what would happen if I simply stopped being one. By the time I walked into my apartment that night, the humiliation had settled into something colder, something steadier. I dropped my keys onto the counter, kicked off my shoes, and sat on the edge of my bed without turning on the lights. The silence felt different, less like loneliness, and more like the space I finally needed to think. Every word Lily said at that picnic replayed in a loop, but the part that stuck wasn't her toast. It was the way everyone laughed, like they'd been waiting for someone to finally say it out loud. Maybe they thought I didn't notice the pattern. Maybe they believed I was too busy working to ever stop and see them clearly. But I had seen everything. The way my mom sighed dramatically every time she hinted about bills. The way my dad framed his needs as small favors even when the numbers in his mortgage statement were anything but small. And Lily God, Lily, who lived like life was a never-ending influencer weekend, always between jobs, always between excuses, yet always perfectly manicured. I thought I'd feel guilty for snapping back at her. I didn't. I felt aligned, like the words had been waiting inside me for a long time, trapped behind years of polite smiles and swallowed resentment. The next morning, my phone buzzed before I even got out of bed. A message from Lily. No greeting, no acknowledgement of her little performance yesterday. "Rent's due. Need you to send it today." I stared at the screen for a long moment. My heart didn't race. My stomach didn't twist. Instead, a strange calm settled over me, the kind that comes just before a storm breaks open the sky. For years, I had responded instantly. I had sacrificed my own bills to pay hers. I had rearranged my life so hers wouldn't fall apart. This time I typed one word, a single, clean, undeniable line I'd never allowed myself to write before. No. I hit send. I waited for the guilt to crash over me. It didn't. Instead, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. The beginning of freedom. Lily didn't even wait a minute before calling. I let the first 2 rings go to voicemail. By the third, I answered not because I owed her anything, but because I wanted to hear how my no would land. She didn't bother hiding her anger. "What do you mean, no?" "You always help. You can't just decide to stop." I leaned back, letting her voice hiss through the phone. "I can," I said, and I just did. She launched into her usual routine panic, guilt, shaky breaths about eviction notices and how things are hard about Ethan still not finding a job that fits his skill set. I used to jump in at the first hint of distress, but now her desperation felt less like an emergency and more like the natural result of choices she refused to face. When I didn't rush to save her, she switched to accusation. "You're being selfish. I can't move back home. You're punishing me." "No," I said. "I'm letting your life be your responsibility." A sharp pause followed, like she'd never considered those words applied to her. Then she hung up. Mom texted minutes later. "Your sister says you're refusing to help. Please tell me that's not true." I didn't reply. My silence must have answered for me, because then, "Ava, don't do this. We're family." And from my dad, "We need to talk. Call me back." Once those messages would have shattered me. I would have apologized, explained, begged for understanding. Instead, I put my phone face down and walked through the cold neighborhood air, each step loosening a knot I'd carried for years. When I got home, 3 missed calls waited, 2 from my parents, 1 from Lily. I didn't listen to any of them, because saying no wasn't just a moment anymore. It was a boundary, and I wasn't crossing it again. The fallout didn't hit all at once. It crept in slowly like a leak behind a wall, easy to ignore until it wasn't. By the end of the week, the first crack appeared in a text from my dad. No greeting. "Did you forget the mortgage bank called?" He genuinely thought forgetting was more believable than me choosing not to pay. The assumption almost made me laugh. I didn't forget, I wrote. "I'm not paying anymore." 9 seconds later, my phone rang. His voice was sharp, caught between anger and panic. "Ava, are you serious? You know how much we rely on that." "I do," I said. "That's why I stopped." The silence that followed was thick. "Then you wouldn't dare." He was clinging to a version of me that no longer existed. When he couldn't persuade me, he handed things off to my mom, who slipped into her perfected guilt tone. "Sweetheart, it's just until things settle. You're overreacting." The same script, the same performance, but this time nothing landed. "You're adults," I said. "Figure it out." She inhaled sharply. "We thought we were a team." "No," I said. "You thought I was the safety net." Then came Lily, paragraph after paragraph filling my lock screen. First begging, then blaming, then panicking. It was like watching someone sprint through all 5 stages of grief. I responded once. "You've had months. Choose a cheaper place, or move home." Her reply was instant furious. "I can't move back home. That's humiliating." For someone who'd just treated me like the family embarrassment, the irony was almost poetic. But beneath her outburst, I recognized something real fear. Not of eviction, of losing the version of herself she performed for everyone else. Without my money holding it up, her curated life started to split. Within days, the cracks widened. My parents got a pre-foreclosure notice. Lily's landlord issued a final warning. Suddenly, they were all circling the same desperate point, me. But I didn't bend. Not this time. And the more they pushed, the clearer it became. This wasn't disaster. It was revelation. Their dependency wasn't accidental. It was practice. They hadn't been managing their lives. I had been managing their consequences, and without my hands holding everything in place, their world was finally learning how to fall. The idea for the second picnic came to me on a Tuesday morning, somewhere between ignoring my mom's 4th voicemail and deleting Lily's latest essay about how I'd destroyed her life. I was brushing my teeth when it hit me. Not a flash of anger, not a desire to humiliate them the way they humiliated me, but a clean, steady need for accountability. If they wanted help, I would help, just not in the way they expected. I spent the next week gathering something my family hadn't touched in years: opportunities. Not money, not bailouts, actual real options: a receptionist opening at a dental office, a warehouse inventory job, a community kitchen needing hands, work that didn't require perfection, just effort. I printed everything and placed them neatly in a folder. When the day arrived, the park looked smaller than the last time I'd been there, maybe because I wasn't walking in as the family doormat anymore. The picnic tables were empty, sunlight streaking through the trees, and for the first time I set up my own food first. Plain sandwiches, water bottles, no gourmet cooler, no curated props, just reality. They arrived one by one, each with the same strained optimism. My mom carried a store-bought quiche. My dad wore a polo shirt he clearly thought made him look more in control. Lily strutted in, last eyes hidden behind oversized sunglasses, trying to pretend her world wasn't collapsing. We sat. Awkward small talk floated like fog, thin, pointless. Then the real theater began. "So," Lily said, crossing her legs like she was hosting a talk show. You said you had something to tell us. My mom nodded with tight excitement. We're ready to move forward. As a family, I placed the folder on the table. 3 pairs of eyes followed it like it might explode. This, I said, sliding the first paper toward Lily, is a job opening. Entry-level, decent hours. They're expecting your call. She blinked confused, then scoffed. A job, Ava, be serious. I am. I handed the next paper to my dad. Inventory manager. Solid benefits. His jaw dropped. You want me to lift boxes? You want to keep your house, I said gently. This would help. My mom snatched up her paper. A kitchen. You want me working in a kitchen? They need people who can commit, I said. You always said you liked helping the community. For a full second, no one spoke. The wind shifted. A bird chirped somewhere in the distance, and then it hit the eruption I'd been expecting. How dare you? My mom snapped. This is humiliating, Lily hissed. You think this is funny? My dad growled. I let it wash over me, calm as tidewater. You asked for help, I said quietly. This is help. Silence followed, heavy, stunned silence, the first honest moment we'd shared in years. One by one they stood. No thank you. No goodbye. Just anger and footsteps fading across the grass. But for the first time in my life, I didn't follow them. I didn't chase. I didn't explain. I just sat there at that picnic table, feeling the sun on my face, knowing something irreversible had just happened. They wanted rescue. I offered reality. And reality was the first thing they ever rejected. In the days after the second picnic, everything went strangely quiet. Not the tense quiet my family used to wield, but something softer like the pause between tides before the water returns changed. I didn't check on them. I didn't wonder whether they were angry or panicking. I just let the silence hold. I filled my days with work, long walks, slow mornings in coffee shops, things that belonged only to me. For the first time in years, I woke without calculating who needed what and how much it would drain me. Then one morning it began. A text from my dad: got forklift certified today. Back sore, but it's good work. I waited for the guilt trip that usually followed. It never came. Just a simple update, a man doing what needed to be done. A few days later, my cousin Jeremy sent a blurry photo of my mom at the community kitchen. Hair tied back, apron dusted with flour. She looked tired, but focused. Not posing, not complaining, working. Truly working, maybe for the first time in decades. Then came Lily. Not through a meltdown, but through a quiet post on her social media, a mirror selfie in blue scrubs, an ID badge clipped to her pocket. No filters, no curated lighting, just a tired young woman heading to her shift. No caption, just a small shy smile. And for once I didn't feel bitterness or triumph. I felt something settling into place, like a puzzle piece finally clicking. Maybe this was responsibility. Not the version I had carried for them for years, but the version they were finally learning, slow, imperfect, real. I didn't congratulate them. I didn't reach out. I let their progress exist without inserting myself, because their growth wasn't mine to manage, and my peace wasn't theirs to interrupt. The following week moved with a strange lightness, as if someone had finally opened a window in a room I didn't realize had gone stale. I woke up earlier, not because I had to rush to fix something for someone else, but because the mornings actually felt like they belonged to me. My coffee tasted fuller, my apartment felt warmer. Even the silence had changed it, no longer pressed on my chest. It simply existed, gentle and unassuming. I didn't expect anything from my family, and maybe that was why the shift felt real when it came. My mom emailed me late one night. No guilt, no veiled request, just a simple sentence. We're trying. I didn't realize how much we leaned on you. It wasn't an apology, not exactly, but it was the first time she'd spoken to me without expecting something in return. I let the message sit, read it twice, then closed my phone without replying. Some truths don't need immediate answers, they just need space. My dad sent a picture of a small grill he'd bought with his first full paycheck in years. Built it myself, he wrote. I smiled, not because he needed my approval, but because he didn't. And Lily, she didn't reach out at all. But every now and then I'd see her walking to the bus stop near my building in her scrubs, hair tied back, steps steady. No designer cooler, no curated poses, just a woman trying, a woman learning, a woman growing. As for me, I booked a solo weekend trip. Nothing dramatic, nothing symbolic, just a quiet promise to myself that my life would no longer shrink to fit around everyone else's crises. I'm not their safety net anymore. I'm not their bank. I'm just Ava, finally whole, finally free, finally mine.